Yalla, people. Hello. 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 مش hello. Yalla, people. You should shout.
Hello.
Passive aggressive to say.
Pass it. Yeah.
Hello, yo, get in.
We are starting. Yalla. Sorry, I'm closing. Thank you. One, two, three. Shall we start? No? سلام مرحبا. شو Okay, ready to start? Ready to start? Maybe ready to start? Yeah? Good. No? Also good. طيب, people, thank you for listening. Thank you very much for listening. Really appreciated that you are listening. Thank you very much. Welcome back. What shall we do next? Whatever we want, no? Once upon a time, I told you, I studied some science. And in our school, they used to tell us that the universe is made up of atoms, molecules, blah, blah, blah. But some people say the universe is made up of stories. During the 90 minutes now, our objective is to explore the story of cooperation between program countries and neighboring countries, and to shed light on the origin, the story, the intention behind the long-term cooperation. Good? So, 90 minutes to try to understand, to know about the story of cooperation. And for this, we kindly invite our regional SALTOs to join, and we will start by Tomek from Eastern Europe and Caucasus. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I can jump up here. And I have a machine. All right, so we, the three regional SALTOs, want to tell you a bit of a story of cooperation, youth cooperation between program and partner countries. And it will be based on the timeline that we have prepared, and all this session will be a kind of around the timeline. Of course, our input will be more theoretical, including, of course, our own SALTO experiences. But then also you will have a lot of chance to bring your own key milestones of your involvement in this cooperation, but you will know later. And as we agreed, we will go a bit chronologically, so I should start with the most past. Our timeline starts in year of 2000, that's the beginning of youth program. But here I wanted very much to underline that, of course, youth work or cooperation between partner program countries, however they were called back in the past, have not started in the year of 2000, of course. I think youth work in Europe and beyond has much longer history. And even before Second World War, there was already youth work cooperation, and it included all different sides of Europe and its neighborhood. Also, after the war, I mean, all the situation, it seems sometimes when we read in books, you know, the times of Soviet Union and so on, that the world was very much divided. And of course it was, but it still allowed for youth work cooperation. There was still possibilities for young people to meet and talk. But then the 90s, maybe also an important moment, because then in the context of Eastern Europe and Caucasus, Southeast Europe, of course, that was a big political changes. Yugoslavia and Soviet Union have split it into smaller countries with more or less difficulties. And back then, already the European Union was supporting the youth work, international youth work. So it was already in the 90s when the first youth exchanges were taking place. Volunteers were going for their projects. But it was much more focused within the European Union itself. And we see this year of 2000 when a proper, quite rich with opportunities youth program was established, that the partner countries, in the sense of what we talk now about these three regions, Eastern Europe, Caucasus, Southeast Europe, and EuroMed, even though it's a bit of artificial division. Sometimes the countries inside one region has much less in common than with some other countries, for example, inside the European Union. But that's when the youth program started. More regular cooperation was established. Organizations established their partnerships for regular projects. And then the first SALTO, regional SALTO, was established, the SALTO for EuroMed. But you need to remember, 2000 is still before the European Union enlargement of 2004. Actually, at that time, European Union was only half of what it is now. It was mainly the western part of the Europe. So also for different cultural, political, geographical reasons, the focus was more on the MEDA countries, North Africa, Middle East. And SALTO EuroMed, also a bit of all these reasons have appeared on the scene of our youth programs. But then, as the big enlargement in 2004 was approaching, also the focus was a bit changing towards the east, towards the Southeast Europe and Eastern Europe and Caucasus. So in 2002, the SALTO for Southeast Europe was established. 2003, the SALTO where we are involved, I'm involved, SALTO Eastern Europe and Caucasus. The period of youth program, the period of 2000 to 2006, was a moment when the regular cooperation was developing. We could see in numbers that it's starting, but it was still quite countable. I mean, I was doing, as I mentioned in the first session, I was doing my volunteering project in Ukraine in 2005. At that moment, I could know every European volunteer in Ukraine because we have been just few. And I think that was the reality in most of the partner countries. It's also a moment of big political developments. In Southeast Europe, this Thessaloniki summit of 2003 gave the perspective for the Southeast European countries to join the European Union. Actually, out of those countries, only one now, after 20 years, became the full European Union member, Croatia, right? The developments in Eastern Europe and Caucasus was also quite dynamic, quite diverse. The region was developing. And then we were just about to start a new program, and we could see a very positive development, a lot of interest inside European Union towards the partner countries. We could observe back then that organizations, national agencies, the European Commission put a lot of attention to partner countries. It was maybe a bit exotic, but then maybe more exciting, maybe more, interesting, something new, something to discover, something to benefit, allowing to open many new opportunities for learning. So it also helped in this area of education, right? Non-formal education. And then we arrived to a next program, next generation, the Youth in Action program. How many of you have been involved during the Youth in Action, organizing projects? And yeah, practically half of the group, right? That's also the moment when I joined the SALTO, so I could observe it also from the perspective of institution, not the beneficiary. And here we observe, that's the golden epoch, that's the best period for us. That's the moment when we could observe each year in statistics the number of young people involved, the number of projects was significantly growing. Between 2007 and 2013, so the period of Youth in Action, the statistics for all the 3 partner regions was doubled or even tripled in some areas. Of course, as the regional SALTOs, we were also part of the process. We were very much supporting these developments, including a big cooperation project, also long-term. It was a Let's strategy. So from 2007, we organized Let's Meet. Then next year, Let's Work with Neighbours. Then Let's Evaluate with Neighbours. So we had a number of activities that allowed for inter-regional meeting, for people coming from different partner countries to come together. It's also important to remember that even though the 3 partner regions were more or less equally involved in the program, there was also particularities. In EuroMed, from 1999, we had the EuroMed Youth program, which with different editions ended up in 2016, I think. The EuroMed Youth program allowed to have a particular focus at the EuroMed. Maybe not great budgets, maybe not opportunities for thousands of projects, but in every country there was the EuroMed Youth unit, there was a responsible officer for it, there was a political will and wish to work with these countries which was somehow structured. There also in Youth in Action we had the Western Balkan Youth Window, a very important instrument because this allowed organizations from partner countries to take ownership of the project, apply and implement together with their partners a regular small youth exchange or a seminar, a training. This built the infrastructure. This allowed organizations to grow because they could take the responsibility. And then the windows continue. At the end of the period of Youth in Action, we also had the Eastern Partnership Youth Window with a similar approach, allowing smaller organizations from the region to apply and get grants and implement projects together with their partners from program countries, right? That's the developments in Youth in Action. Of course, also politically, the world was changing. Sometimes we tend to think, okay, the history is slowing down until it finishes, but actually it's accelerating sometimes a lot. In 2008, during Paris Summit, the Union for Mediterranean was established. In 2009, the Eastern Partnership was launched, a big political framework that also influenced the youth work with the partner countries. In principle, we hope that this influenced it positively, but as I say, the dynamics are different, and we would like to see only developments, growth, dynamic, but it's not always the case. As a regional SALTOs, also 2010, we have organized a meeting for the, every year we have been involved in different staff meetings for the national agency. That's maybe also very important to mention that in Youth in Action, maybe that's the most important for this program if we think about the structure of it. In Youth in Action, we had a particular action that was focusing at cooperation with partner countries. And again, it was not about budget. This action was, I think, the poorest. I mean, in terms of budget, how much money we had in Action 3 back then in Youth in Action. It still allowed for a quite significant number of projects. But the most important was that in every NA, there was one colleague who was responsible for this cooperation, that the Commission was putting attention to this cooperation because that was an official action of the program. And this, I think this facts, plus of course the involvement of hundreds and thousands of organizations allowed to really grow the statistics. And as I say, we usually call this period, Youth in Action, a golden epoch for us. This also allows for our regional SALTOs to be very much involved in organizing staff meetings for NA colleagues. So we could also institutionally enhance this cooperation, allowing for much more opportunities for organizations to meet, build partnerships, you know, develop their competences, and establish projects. That's also the period when in the EVS, European Voluntary Service, in Southeast Europe, first of all, the accreditation process and on arrivals and midterms have been established from even just before the Youth in Action started. Then 2010, in our region, Eastern Europe and Caucasus, we have established a proper system of quality label, what we call now, or accreditation of organizations and trainings. And you will see later in Erasmus Plus the EuroMed. So now all the 3 regions are fully covered with these support measures. And then coming to an end of this period, we have been still involved as regional SALTOs with all our national agency partners to support more, and we have organized a forum called Youth Cooperation Beyond Borders. Beyond Borders seems to be a kind of term that was around us even before we kick off our strategic project today. But it was about the same, about enhancing cooperation outside of European Union with all our neighborhoods to make sure the youth work is beyond borders. And then we arrived to Erasmus Plus period. So I give word to Maite, and she will tell you that the challenges has started actually with the big program. But I also want to mention that in the region of Eastern Europe and Caucasus, 2014 also brought a big political change because 8 years ago, Russia invaded Ukraine, and then it developed to the situation we have now. So for our region, turbulent times because of the program and because of everything that happened politically. Switch.
All right, yes. So as Tomek was saying, the period 214 to 218 is a stagnation period actually for us, for the program. Even if, well, this period started with a new program, Erasmus Plus, which actually was well, an integrated program, was aiming to join the formal sector and non-formal sector and try to give more possibilities to the beneficiaries. So actually it was quite an important step. But what we noticed at the same time, when the 3 SALTOs also try to bring some statistics from this period is that actually there were always less participants and beneficiaries of the partner countries to activities, projects. Actually, if we see, if we compare with the former program, just with Youth in Action, is also that for example, the SouthMed region had also this EuroMed program, and so the organization had the possibility to have direct access to the program and also to be granted. And this thing that disappeared with Erasmus Plus, and then it was quite a challenge then, for us then began. About at the same time, EuroMed started. Yeah, thanks. Started as Tomek mentioned it. We began with the EVS accreditation. So this was the last region where we did not, where it was not happening. So it began in 2014. So this was quite an important step. And there were also a window, as Tomek also explained, which is also a quite interesting instrument for partner countries, the Western Balkan Youth Window. So yes, and to end with this this particular year, this was also the entering of North Macedonia to the youth programs. Even if it was Macedonia was not a program country, but entered had access to the program as a partner country, so as a program country, so it was also quite important. Yeah, then we also faced, well, there was quite political period, difficult period in Europe, and also the Arab Spring, who has began at the beginning of 2011 and 10-11, and this is also of course something we have to deal with. And that continued. So 216, that was a very important year because, as we said, EVS was really a program that had been implementing with successfully. And this is the year we celebrated 20 years of this this program, and we organized a very important seminar for regional EVS trainer pools. Yeah, and then but this program ended in 2018, replaced by, as we know now, as the European Solidarity Corps, with also another dynamic, other priorities, so also important. But yeah, the dynamic that was that we knew with EVS, sometimes we also lost it. So that was not a very positive thing for program and for partner countries. And yeah, but nevertheless, in 2017 and 18, we still tried to promote and develop the programs in the neighboring partner countries with our colleagues from the national agencies, organizing staff training and also launching some strategic activities, long-term activities. We also had, well, the political situation of the refugees, and also other topics that were important for both partner and program countries. And so we tried to implement also some strategic activity all together on this important topics. Two other windows came also at that time: Eastern Partnership Youth Window and the Tunisian Youth Window, which is almost the last one we know. And then, so we arrived to European Solidarity Corps that you all know, certainly better than I do. And yeah, and that's, there we are in, we still. And the last important that we notice is Norway entered then the European Solidarity Corps. So we were a little bit more working on this. So, and that's for this period, and then see more the present. I pass the floor to Sonia.
Can I take this? Yes? Okay. Good. No, it was there. This, yes. So, where are we now? And why are we talking about the past? Beyond Borders is, of course, based on the developments up to now. And it's based on the situation we're finding now. And I take it that the present time I'm talking about has maybe started a couple of years ago, before COVID even, before COVID put yet another difficult period on this cooperation. I think it's just important to keep in mind that the programs, Erasmus+, European Solidarity Corps, like all other programs, reflect a political situation, political developments. They're based on the priorities and on the decisions that are being made in a much larger context, and they reflect that, of course, also inside the programs. And what we've seen in the past years, in particular during Erasmus+, was that, maybe naturally so, the European Union also focused a lot more on itself. Whereas we've seen in the 1990s and in 2000, beginning of the 2000s, we've seen an enlargement still, the spirit of enlarging Europe in a way of looking outside into a larger Europe. There was a movement inward in this last period because of unemployment, because of migration, of terrorist attacks, of Brexit, of all kinds of challenges. And so I think also to some extent, naturally, the focus was more on inside than on outside, with all the different things that we've seen, all the different accompanying stages that we've seen. And I believe there has been no bad will or bad intention or anything behind this. It just happened like this because priorities change like this. This is how things work. But now we feel it's a good moment to look at where we are and to say, okay, what can we do? How can we see a need in all the regions, in cooperation with all the different regions, all the countries, to stimulate, to step up this cooperation again, to put it back on the agenda and to say, look, this is also very important. And we've taken first steps in 2019, where we had first steps. We took some steps in the last program, 2019. We had a meeting with all the colleagues from the national agencies at the time. And already then, so that's why I'm saying before COVID already, we said, okay, we see the statistics, we need to do something. It's also a time when the new program generation is being developed at the level of the European Commission. We would like to give recommendations for the future of how the programs can become more accessible again for partner countries. And we also would like to spread the message in the network of national agencies that there is a need to step up support and also to go out to the organizations, maybe more strongly, in some countries more than in others, but to go out again more strongly and to say cooperation, also with the partner regions, is really important. There is a budget for that, there are possibilities for that, to just call attention back to it, which to some extent had gotten lost a bit. We've seen a new program come, even though the new programs have opened different possibilities for partner countries, also in sports, for instance, or vocational training, so on. So in different areas, Erasmus Plus has opened up, has created new opportunities for partner countries. We see, nevertheless, that in the field of youth, at least the kinds of things we were recommending, which we thought would make the program more accessible for organizations from the youth field, that these recommendations have not been taken up. That's something we have to live with. We have a program now as it is, and which gives opportunities but also has certain limits. At the same time, we also have the recommendations in mind for stepping up the support at the level of support that we can give. We can give in terms of how the kinds of support activities we organize, how we maybe work on visibility of this whole cooperation, how we try to make more efforts to coordinate the different activities, the different stakeholders that exist at different levels in the institutions, and so on. There are different things we can do. And this is what we would like to do with Beyond Borders, with the new partnership that we have created. I need to step back this, I'm very sorry. So, here we are, and I will just say a few words about what we're intending to do with this partnership. So it's a strategic cooperation framework between several national agencies and the regional SALTOs on cooperation with the partner countries. What is maybe new about it is that we will try to be more strategic in a certain way than what we have than we've been before. And we're really trying to create a longer-term process which will last until the end of the current programs, so until 2027. Okay. First of all, this is still, as always, based on the conviction that Europe is not a closed shop. We're still there. This is still our main conviction for going further. We would like to create, or what do we hope to reach? We would like to see, after a few years of time, enhanced opportunities for sustainable partnerships and joint projects. We would like to see regular and targeted support for projects and partnerships. And maybe the attention here is also on regular and on targeted, so not just projects and partnerships, but we would like to see that there is a continuity there. We're also thinking of the impact of the projects, because we feel it's very important also that we're looking at projects and, of course, the learning they can create for the participants, but also the benefits they can bring on the development, for the development and recognition of youth work in the regions, and obviously also the benefits of the youth workers, the young people that are coming from the program countries, because we've seen that there's a lot of processes that happen from these projects. And we think there's a big need, as I said before, to increase the visibility and recognition of the relevance and the added value of this dimension of the program. So who are we addressing? This is maybe something that is goes by itself, yeah? So we're addressing, of course, youth organizations and all other organizations working with young people, youth workers and trainers in both the program countries always and in the different partner countries, young people, clearly, of course, as well, but also beyond. So I think we are thinking of what we sometimes call the European youth work community of practice, which of course also includes people from the ministries, it includes people from institutions, from research, from other related fields, education, and so on, because a lot of youth work doesn't work in a bubble, in a vacuum. It links to various stakeholders. It needs support from policy. So we think broader than just the main practitioners that are working in this field. And of course, it's very important to work with the national agencies, of course, but also with the colleagues in the European Commission. A constant challenge, I think, for us is also that we are working directly with a particular unit, the youth unit in the Commission, in the Directorate for Education and Culture, but that there are different other units and directorates that also support youth work with partner countries in the European Commission, very important ones, and that these links maybe also need to be strengthened. So what are we planning? And this is my last slide. So importantly, we want to create a process of co-creation of this partnership. And this is also what we're doing here. You will see that in the next couple of days, you will have opportunities to feed back to us what is important to you. And we also had a structured process of consulting stakeholders in the partner countries so far on this process. And you will hear, I'm going there, Max, tomorrow, who will give you more information about what came out of that. we're also planning to consult organizations in program countries more, because we think it's also very important to have their perspective on why this cooperation is important. This is actually very, very essential. We haven't done this yet systematically, but we will come back to that. We still plan to have a national agency staff meeting this year, and we are preparing a communication platform which should address this issue of making the cooperation more visible and making also information about the opportunities and different kinds of resources that might be important more accessible for those who would like to get involved. Based on what is coming this year and what is the input, we will develop different kinds of support activities over the next couple of years and also monitor and evaluate what is happening. 2024 is kind of a midterm, and then we will see how to continue based on where we are and what is going on. So this is it, what I wanted to tell you. This is where we are now. Thank you very much for your attention. I think we will open now for comments and questions, but I give back to the facilitators, to Iyad, and then, yes, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.